we are going to talk about all the ways that you can write a word with a long E. One way you can write a word with a long E is the EE. Another way the E says its own name is EA together. Another way is E, a consonant, and then an E at the back, that's silent E. You could have an E all by itself, or you could have a Y making the long E sound. The first rule I want to talk to you about is to try a Y when you hear a long E at the end of a word. So let's say I have the word candy. Candy. I hear that long E at the end of a word, so I'm going to try spelling it with a Y. And E. I hear the E sound here, it's at the end, so I'm going to write a Y. Candy. I check it. That's how I would see it in a book. So I am going to add the word candy to my column with just a Y. It was at the end of a word, so I wrote it with just a Y. We can try this one also. Baby. Baby. Ooh, I also hear a long A sound there, so I'm going to think back to my rules that we learned earlier with the long A's. Baby. It's not at the long A is not at the end of the word. That will not be with an AY. It doesn't sound like it's part of a pattern. Baby. I had a long A at the end of that first syllable. So I'm going to try just an A in the word baby, and then I heard E at the end of the word. I'm listening for all of those things. B, A, B, E. That long E is at the end. I'm going to use just a Y. Baby. So when you hear it at the end of a word, try a Y. The next rule I want to teach you about is I want you to listen for patterns of words that you know from word families. Eat and eat are some examples. So let's say I have the word feed. That's one that could be part of the word family feed, seed, need. That one I know. I've seen those in many words. So that one I'm going to try with the EE. Eed. Feed. That looks correct to me. If you weren't sure, try it another way. Let's say you didn't know if it was an EE or an EA. Write them both. Eed. My long E sound in the middle, I wrote it with an EA. Now check them. This one does not look like a word. This one does. Feed is spelled F-E-E-D. Let's try another one. How about agreed? Let's see. Ooh, agreed. It has a pattern that I know, one that we just wrote. It has that EED pattern that we just wrote with the EE. I'm going to try it with that E-E-D again. Here's my E sound. Agreed. Agreed. I check it. That looks like a word I would read in a book. That looks like the word I would see if I came across it in a story. Agreed is spelled with 2 E's. Okay, let's try another one. How about the word heat? Heat. I hear that eat at the end, and that reminds me of the word eat. That to me is a familiar pattern with an E-A. I know the word eat is spelled like this. I hear that at the back of heat. Add it to the beginning. Eat. Heat. That looks right. Heat is an E-A. Now let's say I want to write the word heater. Think about the base word. The base word in heater is heat. All I need to do is add those extra ending sounds. Heat-er, and we know that if I hear an at the back of a word, it's usually with an ER, spelled with an ER. Heat-er. Heater. Think about the base word first for those long vowels, and then you add the extra endings to the word if there are endings, like an or an ing or an heater. All right, let's try another one. How about athlete? This one's tricky. I'm not sure I know which one this is. We did just have EAT as part of an eat at the end, that pattern. So maybe I'll try it that way. That's that E sound. Athlete. Athlete. I used a pattern, but that doesn't look like a word I know. I'm going to write it a different way to check. Let's try the E way. Here's my E sound. Eat. Athlete. I'm looking at that. That still doesn't look like a familiar word to me. So I have one other pattern I haven't tried. I'm going to try the E with a silent E at the back. Eat, and adding that E at the back. Athlete. I'm looking at all three of these. This one looks like a real word to me. Athlete has an E with a silent E at the back. So sometimes when you're trying to hear those patterns, or you hear a pattern but you're not quite sure which one, write them out a few different ways and check to see which one looks the correct way, how you would read it if you saw it somewhere. So the second rule was to listen for patterns, you know, like eat and eat. And the last way I'm going to teach you is to try E on its own when you hear it at the end of a syllable. Just like we did with an A on it by itself at the end of a syllable, we also do that with a long E sound. So let's say I have the word hero. I don't hear the E sound at the end of a word, so I'm not going to use the Y. It doesn't sound like it's part of a pattern. Hero. So I'm going to clap it out and see where I hear the long E sound. He-ro. I go a little bit slower. He. That's the end of the syllable. At the end of that syllable, I heard the E sound. So I'm going to try it with just an E. E. That's where I'm hearing the long E sound. E-R-O. Hero. Hero. Check. Does that look like I would read it? Does that look like how I would see it if I read it? It does. Hero is made with just an E. So when you're writing, I want you to think about those. I want you to think about those rules. I'm going to say a few words, and on your paper, I want you to write down where you think they would go. So if you need a minute, you can draw a chart to look like mine. You can draw a chart to look like mine. I'll read you some words, and I want you to use the rules and sort where you would write them. All right, here is your first word. Write the word complete. Now think about if you hear it at the end of a word, if you hear it at the end of a syllable, or if it sounds like part of a pattern. Complete. Kind of noticing that eat at the end. So maybe it's part of a pattern. All right, try the word cheater. Cheater, like I was called a cheater because I skipped somebody in line. All right, try the word beetle. Beetle. Do you hear it at the end of a word? Beetle. Does it sound like it's part of a pattern? Or does it sound like it's at the end of a syllable? And if you try it one way and you look at it and you don't think it looks like a real word, try it another way. This one's tricky. Beetle. Try it a couple ways. If you wrote it with the E on its own and it doesn't look right, try it another way. See if it's part of a pattern. Try the word funny. Try the word dream. I had a really crazy dream last night about a superhero. Try the word before. Try writing the word screaming. And try writing the word muddy. Like my boots were all muddy from playing outside. And then take a picture of the words you wrote and how you sorted them and upload them to Seesaw.